Hey guys, what's going on? DaleyTactics here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order because recently at E3 we got to see some actual gameplay of the game, and this game is sort of creeping up on us too. It's coming out November 15th of 2019, and that's not that far away. So I just wanted to take a moment to sort of voice my opinions on what we've seen so far and what I think about it and how excited slash unexcited I am about this game. And I have to tell you right off the bat, I am actually very, very excited. It's being developed by Respawn Entertainment, who I think is going to be very capable of developing this game. They helped create the Call of Duty franchise back in the day when their campaigns were actually good. And they also developed Titanfall 2 and Titanfall and Apex Legends, all of which are very good games in my opinion. So I think their track record sort of speaks for itself in terms of what they're capable of with a video game. However, their parent organization is Electronic Arts, which is probably the worst parent organization around in the gaming industry at the moment in terms of corporate greed and just trying to squeeze the consumer dry of everything they have. Now, I think EA is probably the biggest threat to this game as it stands right now. They have a horrible track record in terms of just doing the worst thing possible. I mean, we saw Star Wars Battlefront 2 with the loot crate debacle and, basically pay to win model. And we see it time and time again with every game they publish, with Battlefield, with FIFA. They're really bad. They are really, really bad about, just being good to consumers. So I think there's very much so the chance that EA will try their hardest to get as much money out of this as they possibly can. And I understand corporate entities do need to make money. If they're going to fund a game, they want to get a return on that and then some. They want to profit. But there are scummy ways of doing that, and there are obviously non-scummy ways of doing that. And EA seems to always go the scummy route. Now, before you write in the comment section, but they already stated that they're not going to be doing anything like that. Yes, they did, and I think that's a good first step, is that they're self-aware that Star Wars Battlefront 2 was a huge flop because of corporate greed. And since then, they've really worked on that game hard, and they've made it sort of come back. It doesn't really have any bad microtransactions. All the DLC has been free to play, which is very nice, and it's grown into a pretty good community full of fun experiences. They've been working hard on the game. DICE has just done a very, very nice job. And I think part of that is because EA sort of let them go and do their own thing after that whole debacle happened with microtransactions and loot crates. And I think that if they do what they did after the sort of scandal with Star Wars Battlefront 2, with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, then we could have an excellent game on our hands. If EA just sort of lets Respawn do everything and not worry too much about the money, a good game will sell itself. We've seen it time and again this past few years with God of War, with Spider-Man PS4, with any Nintendo game that's come out for the Switch. They sell themselves. You will make your money back, EA, if you just let the developers make a good game first and not worry about money every step of the way. And I do think that them announcing that they're, not going to be doing anything scummy is great, but I'm still having that little worry in the back of my mind that they're going to try and do something there. So just remember that it might seem we're winning right now. We're winning the cause for, consumer-friendly games and things like that, but EA's pretty slimy, and they might come around and try and, really squeeze us for all we've got any minute now. So just I've got a very wary optimism about it. But going off of all of that, negativity about the developers and development of the game, what did I think about the gameplay trailer itself? Well, to start off, I thought it looked great, but not perfect. The visuals were absolutely stunning. Oh my god, that lightsaber glowing off of the cave walls. The armor of the stormtroopers looked pristine and lifelike. The environment looked vibrant and well made. Really just a visually stunning trailer, and I really hope the final product looks everything like that, because that's the dream for one of these next generation Star Wars games, is to get super close to what it would realistically be to be a Jedi. I think that would be awesome, and to really feel the world around you of Star Wars. That'd be so cool. So I am very excited about the gameplay that we did see, and I think it's awesome. I do have some worries, though. From what it looked to me, it seemed very easy. There was almost no challenge in that at all. I mean, the stormtroopers posed literally no threat whatsoever. He was using force powers willy-nilly. It was just sort of, all right, there's some enemies, kill them, all right, let's move on. The only real threat we saw at the end was the Inquisitor, who was dope. I mean, he had an awesome character model. He sounded awesome. He looked awesome. His fighting style was cool. But even still, it just took a little bit longer to kill him, but it still didn't really seem all that challenging. Now, the developers have sort of seen this, and they've said, okay, we're going to try and make it a little bit harder. Don't worry, force powers won't be that easy to use all of the time. The enemies will pose a threat. So they sort of squashed my criticism there, and I'm very happy that they did, because I'm excited for a hard, needy, gritty Star Wars game where there are actual challenges and I have to use my force abilities when I can, and when I can save them, I should, and figure all that out as I go along, as I'm trying to complete the level. I think that's going to be really cool if they do it the right way and they make it a challenge for players, because just because it's a Star Wars game doesn't automatically mean it's going to be good if it's just way too easy and that sort of a thing. So here's to hoping that they do practice what they preach and actually release a bit of a harder game that's a bit more challenging. I have a feeling that they might have just made it really dumbed down and easy for the trailer, just because, well, they wanted to sell this thing and they want to show off all the force powers, and they want to show off, slicing and dicing some stormtroopers and things like that. And if it was insanely hard in the trailer itself, then it might not sell as well. So I sort of understand where they're coming from that point. So I've sort of gone over what I thought of the trailer overall, the visuals, all that stuff. We didn't get too much from it, but I mean, it's looking pretty dope, I gotta say. So what would I like to see in this game? Well, first of all, I would like to see the GUI updated, because the user interface looked kind of gross, boring, disgusting. It just didn't really resonate with me very well. I hated that the stormtroopers had health bars over their heads in like a tiny little line. It just looked dumb. Take that away. Get rid of it. We don't need it. I also didn't like how, you were sort of locking on with a little dot for each stormtrooper. I feel like you should feel the lock in the game instead of having to have it visually represented by an orange dot over the stormtrooper or enemy that you're taking down. I think cleaning up the GUI would be nice to see. Next thing I sort of want to see is some iconic characters in there. And they already showed us that they're going to be pulling from Disney's canon. We saw Saw Gerrera in there, and I'm super excited about that. I don't know if that was Chewbacca or not, that Wookiee there. I have a feeling it probably wasn't, because it wouldn't make sense for Chewbacca to be hanging out with Saw Gerrera at all. But it's cool to see that they are taking into account alien races and things like that in this game, and that we're going to be seeing some Wookiees and hopefully some, I don't know, Bothans or what have you, Rhodians, etc. But beyond that, I'd really like to see things like Darth Vader. I'd love to see maybe even Obi-Wan in there. That'd be really, really cool. But you get my point. I'd like to see people from Disney canon and lore and everything Star Wars in there. I'd like to be able to be like, oh my god, that is Obi-Wan Kenobi right there. Yes. Like, I want to see that. I want to have that moment in gaming. I want to have that nostalgia, and I want to be fighting alongside some of my favorite characters, because that would be really, really fun. Another thing that I kind of want is the use of non-lightsaber weapons. I remember from Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, a big part of that game was utilizing blasters, pistols, grenades, things like that. It made each situation different. You weren't always hacking and slashing with your lightsaber. You had to sometimes tactically, utilize other things that were available pick up around you. The lightsaber wasn't always the best weapon for the job, and you had to figure that out and use your brain to figure out, okay, if I grenade that box over there, that eliminates that cover, and then I can, snipe him from the side by rotating around, things like that. I'd love to see that in a Star Wars game, and I love the idea of Jedi not just using their lightsabers. I mean, we see Luke use blasters all the time. We see Rey use blasters all the time. And I think that would be a really missed opportunity if they didn't bring some of those weapons into the game. So, love to see some non-lightsaber weapons in there. Next thing I'd really like to see is a bit more of a struggle with the dark side. Because right now, what we've seen, it's really just sort of this guy fighting for the rebels. And that could be a really good story, completing missions for the Rebel Alliance and things like that. But one thing that Star Wars has always had as an element, a pure element, is this struggle with the dark side. Will the hero turn? Will he go to the dark side? Is he coming out of the dark side with, like, the Force Unleashed? It's something that every Jedi has struggled with. And if they don't incorporate that into this, I think it would be a huge missed opportunity. And I don't think it would make for the best story. I think having sort of this character who's purely good is very boring. We see it with Rey a lot. She barely struggles with the dark side. And I think that makes her character a little bit more bland. I mean, yes, she goes into that cave and is like looking at her hand or whatever, but it's not that much of a struggle. You always know, like, okay, she's gonna go be with the good side. With Luke, you probably could have guessed, yeah, he's gonna end up a Jedi. He's gonna be part of the good side, but there's a bit more of this internal struggle within him. So I would love to see that in the game. And sort of going off of that, I would love to see different outcomes to this story. I'd love it if your actions in game resulted in different things that happen in the story, and it really has effects on the end game and what happens at the very end of the whole thing. Because having this struggle between good and bad, and then also maybe making it so the character could go to the dark side, that would be so cool. You know, if you could be fighting alongside Darth Vader at the very end, if for some reason you got so corrupt by, I don't know, like using too many dark side force powers or making the wrong decisions or, terrorizing innocents, that kind of a thing, it could be really, really cool because then you get that conflict and you actually don't know the outcome of the story in the end. And I think that would be a really neat thing to see, that, character decisions really do matter. And, you could maybe just not want to be a Jedi. You want to be on the dark side of the Force. That'd be really cool. Or, doing separate playthroughs. You do one playthrough as a Jedi, and then you beat that on the good side, and then you choose, okay, now I'm going to do the dark side run through. It would bring some replayability to this game, and I think that'd be awesome. But the counterpoint to this is that this might affect good storytelling. If you have too many outcomes and, they don't all line up with each other and things like that, it might get a little bit messy. It might not be the best story. And I think if they do have just this really good story at the end of the day and, leaving room for those sort of decisions might not fit into that story, I'd sacrifice it for the best story. That's just my opinion. But at the end of the day, light side, dark side, who cares as long as we're getting that good story, because that's really all that matters in a Star Wars game, is that the story is captivating. And if you're just sort of running through levels, mission to mission, not really getting invested in characters and things like that, then that would be really boring. And so far from all the character models we've seen, they all sort of do look pretty bland and not that fun looking. So I'm hoping they, put in some cool characters with really unique personalities like Rom Coda. That guy was dope and so memorable from The Force Unleashed, a game that came out years ago, and yet still so many people know his story by heart because of how cool it was that he survived Order 66 because he didn't have a clone trooper legion, because he didn't trust the clone troopers. It's dope, and I would love it if they incorporated some quirky, cool characters like that into this, and really made the story very, very good. And I'd take that over anything else at the end of the day, because we haven't had very many good Star Wars stories as of late, so, I want this game to be good. But yeah, those are sort of my thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We haven't gotten too much information about the game as of yet, just some gameplay and a couple of trailers. But I'm excited for the game to come out. I'm excited to see more. because we haven't had any sort of single-player Star Wars experience in quite a while. So, without further ado, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.